yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one.
Yeah, man.
I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, too tired. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Well, maybe not Mike Washington. He's out on assignment. But we do have A.D. Drew back in the house after 2 weeks off putting in work behind the scenes at the SIAC tournaments. A lot of work, late hours, particularly for the baseball, but he saw some great games in person. I got to see him on SIAC TV. Congratulations to the commissioner, Holloman, getting it done over there. And congratulations to all the teams that played in the tournament. Well played, particularly for Elwood Waters winning the championship. Not so much for Spring Hill. I think they played well, but some of the items that took place after the games, won't go deep in that, could have been left on the sidelines. But regardless, congratulations to everybody involved. With that being said, welcome to episode 810 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports, for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live, K-Sway's 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's bring on Professor Charles Bishop, Professor A.D. Drew, and let me start with you, Charles. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. Of course, we're going into graduation season, and I got a couple of them coming up pretty shortly. So both daughters.
Go ahead and say some shout outs.
Shout out my oldest, Clark. She is finishing up at Syracuse, and then my youngest, Camille. She's finishing high school at Episcopal here in Houston. So shout out to both of them. Congratulations to both. They've had a tremendous academic career.
So you're officially an empty nester in terms of K-12, as we like to say in education.
I know, right?
Exactly. But they still gonna be in their pocket. I heard to tell you, Charles. It does.
That's the way it works. Yeah.
That part, it has a little ways to go, but at least they're not in the refrigerator as much.
Yeah.
Young ladies, they don't eat like that. Yeah. But they have good taste. They got a different level of taste.
They got an excellent taste. Let me tell you about their taste.
Hey, it's your fault. They got it for you.
Yeah, that's true. They have no taste now.
I went out to dinner with you, boy. I'm like, this dude like to eat. Hey, let me try that. That's pretty good, though. Good stuff. I have to laugh from crying with all the madness that we heard at the highest level of courtrooms in the country. But as we laugh, don't be twisted. We will continue to push forward and fight in whichever ways we see is appropriate for the two belt. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational, consulting, and data analytics. With that being said, let me go to the other half. A.D. Drew, how are you doing today? How does it feel to be back on the mic and then be able to have your hands free a little bit? Shout out to our producer back there getting it done.
The question you should have asked is, how does it feel to be back in my own house after being on the road for 10 days, Dr. Cavil? That's the question that you should have asked after having worked. Let me give you the entire 2 weeks that I've been gone. Obviously, we had the new grandbaby. That was Thursday,
Right.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The day that, like, one day afterwards, I'm working EYBL basketball event. As soon as I finish the EYBL basketball event, I get on the road to the SIAC softball tournament. I have to come back from the SIAC softball tournament to Atlanta because we had our athletic banquet that Tuesday night. Go back to the SIAC softball tournament that Wednesday. Obviously, we had to deal with the rain on Tuesday, so that tournament gets pushed back. So now, and just so everybody knows, the Black College Sports Network was the production team for the SIAC Network's coverage of softball and baseball through minority prospects. So I was, along with Roy, we were hired to lead the production because in softball,
Excellent job.
you need two producers. So we're thinking we're going to get over to baseball and have it a little bit lighter because we could put the two crews together in baseball. No, sir, because we got to keep the crews in two cities for 2 days and do two, instead of having everybody on site. You got two separate crews in two cities producing games at exactly the same time.
Wow.
So Wednesday, as soon as I produced games that I was not supposed to produce on Wednesday, because that was supposed to be my day off because of rain, I got to get on the road from Columbus, Georgia, after doing 2 games, and drive to Macon, Georgia. Get to Macon, Georgia, 10:30 at night. Have to be at the ballpark 7 o'clock in the morning because we need to set up for a 10 o'clock game instead of being able to set up all day Wednesday, which was the original plan, to set up the equipment at the new field. Then Thursday, then we ran into frame Friday, and anyway, long story short, and I've made this longer than it need to be. I got back in my house at 1 o'clock this morning, and I was never so happy to see my bed, and was a little bit upset when those business calls started coming in on my phone this morning. That's all I'm gonna say.
I bet you did. Bet you did, boy. I tell you, yeah. You're a glutton for punishment in terms of putting work together, particular for HBCU. So it's appreciated because it makes my side, the viewer, much easier. I just get to sit back and check out all the great work. So I appreciate you because I did get a chance to watch that. SIAC did a good job. Shout out to Jerome. Congrats to the graduates, and congrats you being old, Charles.
I know, right?
Only thing that sucks was your time because you had both, because they both 4 years apart, which means they graduate at the same year. So That's the only mistake that you made, Charles, was your timing. You and Wendy.
Well, Varick, shout out to Varick in terms of the Jags. I hadn't seen Varick on the show. I'm glad he's back, but the Jags get a big victory, and he like
Jags must be doing something.
He did probably have the best show of the day. A solid one from Texas Southern, though. Solid one. Big win, certainly, in the tournament there. Down goes the first number 1, Prairie View. Shout out to Alabama State getting a much-needed victory. Big run late in that game to win 2-1. To turn off the faucets as the West showed up early, and now the East says we got something to say. We'll see what happens tonight. I expect it's going to be 2-2 when we get out of here tonight, which would be fascinating. But with that being said, since we're talking a little softball, Charles, you want to give some accolades to the softball?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. As the SWAC announced the softball postseason awards, the Southwestern Athletic Conference has announced its 2026 SWAC softball postseason awards, recognizing the league's top performers and honoring standout achievements across all positions following a highly competitive regular season. So accolades go out to Amari Brown from Florida A&M. She is the player of the year. Hitter of the year is Callie Osterman from Alabama A&M. The pitcher of the year is Aaliyah Zabala from Southern. The newcomer of the year is Layla Clark, also from Southern. The freshman of the year is Morgan Smith from Prairie View A&M. And the coach of the year is Brittany Williams from Southern. So kudos go out to all of those who have earned postseason awards. Of course, they first team recognition. You got Brooke Ramsey, catcher from Alabama State; Jade McQueen, first base from Texas Southern; Zayla Zayad from Prairie View A&M. Shortstop was Amari Brown. Of course, she was Player of the Year. Jace Jackson, first team for third baseman from Jackson State. We mentioned Callie Osterman and the outfield from Alabama A&M. Layla Clark, outfielder from Southern, and Emma Bradley Sue from Bethune-Cookman, also in the outfield. The pitchers were Aaliyah Zabala, Zoriana Hughes from Florida A&M, Kayla Adams from Prairie View A&M, and Kylie Wilson from Texas Southern. Those are all of your first team awardees there.
Yeah, congratulations on Southern Coach of the Year, Brittany Williams, and Brian will not be happy about this. He's going to go back and talk about FAMU head coach last year. But maybe it's because all the dialogue he talked about last year, the voters looked at it differently, and they adjusted accordingly, and now he's still not happy. Well, I tell you, it's hard.
Ryan still raising hell about it.
Yeah, he's like, man, they followed your guidelines. They said, well, it was the best. The best. Look at the year. So, but Ryan won't be happy. I can tell you that. Shout out to Freshman of the Year, Morgan Smith from Prairie View A&M, as you talked about. Newcomer of the Year, Layla Clark from Southern. Pitcher of the Year, Leah Zambala, Southern, as you said. And hitter of the Year, Kaylee Osterman from Alabama A&M. Player of the Year, Amari Brown, Florida A&M. And again, as you saw, Coach of the Year, Brittany Williams of Southern. She got off to a hot start, boy, in the tournament. It should be interesting to see what takes place tomorrow as the Jags move on, representing the West. Shout out to the West, making a little announcement this year, getting back in the softball business. With that being said, 80, I heard you got a little golf. You know, you taking Charles' spot. Charles sneak up on you on the golf, but it's my understanding that you got some good news to share.
Yeah, and as much softball as I saw this weekend, I refuse to go to a softball story there. So I'm glad Charles decided that's the story he wanted to lead with. But you know, the PGA Collegiate Works are going on down at the park in West Palm Beach, Florida. For those who do not know, the PGA Works Championship is essentially the HBCU National Championship for golf, and they have multiple divisions. They have team divisions and individual competition divisions. So quickly, I'll go down this. Division One men. The Florida A&M Rattlers are currently. Oh, let me back up. It's a 3-day event. When I think the women may still be out on the course for day 2, but all the men's teams are complete. Anyway, Florida A&M leads the D1 men. They're shooting a total of 567. North Carolina A&T at 580. Prairie View A&M is at 587. Those are your top 3 on the men. Individually, Sasha Robinson for Florida A&M is number 1 on the individual. He is shooting a 136, Charles. That is 6 under. So something that both you and I wish we would get just once in our lifetime.
No, that's true.
Quade Woods from Alabama State is number 2. He is shooting a 2 under 140 through 2 rounds. And tied at 3rd, Ignacio Zapata and Philippon, I can't even say it. Philippon V from Florida A&M are shooting even par 142 on the men's side. Going to the Division 2, Western New Mexico University is leading. We just had to put that out there. The top HBCU in second place is Morehouse at 603. They are 5 strokes behind the overall leader on the Division 2 level. Followed number 3 by Kentucky State, who is 10 strokes behind Morehouse, and coming in 6th place. We're just talking about the HBCUs is Livingstone. They're shooting a 620 27. So they're bringing up the rear. Individually, HBCU notables. JD Cunningham for Morehouse is the top HBCU player on the Division II level, but he is 6 strokes off of the pace. Denza Asaba from Livingstone is 1 stroke behind. Excuse me, he's tied with Cunningham, and Isaiah Stewart is 2 strokes behind those 2 individuals right there. So 3 of your top 4 on the Division II individuals come from HBCUs. Moving on to the women's side, everybody. Dr. Cavil, Texas Southern, 6th in second place behind Texas A&M Corpus Christi. But Dr. Cavil, here's the bad part about it. They are 19 strokes behind Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Wow.
North Carolina A&T is 1 stroke behind Texas Southern, and Alabama State 6 strokes behind North Carolina A&T. So the 2, 3, and 4 positions are Texas Southern, A&T, and Alabama State. But leading the individual portion, Sanaya Carter from Central shooting a 149. And you maybe know Thayez Azuchua is. I'm not sure if either one of you guys are familiar with that name, but anyway, she's 1 stroke off, tied for second place, and Kiera, along with Kiera Williams, tied at second from Alabama State, and in third place. Boy, we got some names with golf. I'm not even supposed to butcher these children's names. Somebody from North Carolina A&T is at 151. So
yeah,
just want to get those out.
This is important. We'll tell folks to go to the PGA Works,
and it's on the Golf Channel if you guys want to watch it.
It is on the Golf Channel. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Charles, you want to quickly give the weekly softball for MEAC so we can make sure they get some love?
Sure. Let me see. Can I pull that? Let's take a look at the MEAC weekly softball.
It's on your,
yeah. As Morgan State's sophomore Olivia Pagano has been named the MEAC Softball Player of the Week, while teammate Serena Rodriguez earned the Pitcher of the Week. As Pagano batted 500, 4 for 8 to lead Morgan to a 2-0 week with a doubleheader sweep over Bowie State. She recorded 2 triples, drove in 3 runs, 3 RBIs, and scored 2 runs in the finale. Take a look at the Serena Rodriguez. She posted a 0.00 ERA over 6 1/3, allowing no runs on 8 hits with 7 strikeouts, including a 6 strikeout save in game 1, and going 3 1/3 scoreless innings to secure her 5th win in the finale. So those are your MEAC weekly softball honors.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll close on this part of the segment. I know it was reported out there that 3 SWAC programs we had heard previously as it came out in terms of FAMU, but along with FAMU, it looked like Alabama A&M, Mississippi Valley were 3 HBCU football programs that were banned for postseason. We got an update. Mo Carter spoke with the athletic director, Dr. Bryan at Alabama A&M. They were actually able to put in a petition for a waiver and do some reduction in terms of practice time, including no spring game next year in 2027. But Alabama A&M actually will be not banned and available for postseason play next year with the waiver. So it's just Mississippi Valley and FAMU in terms of that. So I know the FAMU folks and Valley folks over there talking about, hey, man, why we didn't put in no waiver? Hey, sometimes it's like that. With that being said, I know I want to shout out to Adam and as well as Edmund talking about gents. I know y'all saying that in the most impressive ways. But as I said last week to Brian, when I spoke too fast with my colonized tongue, we don't use gentlemen because I learned, as you do a little research, that gentleman is an old English term that was used for folks that would backhand their wife or their lady friend gently. So that's how that term came up, and I certainly want to utilize that. So, fellas, lab listeners, professors, or whatever you want to use, certainly. But again, I know you meant it in the highest regard. But just wanted to share a little bit of that. As we do that, we'll take our first break, come back on the other side. We'll get into these poll rankings, mid-major and major division. Softball obviously got off this week, so there was a break. Not a lot of changes, but we'll go through it. And then we'll get into a discussion of what these gentlemen thought with some of these early games. Shout out, obviously, to the mid-major champions of the CIAA. We talked about the HBCU AC Spring Hill. Got out of the SIC on the softball side. Obviously, we know not a HBCU, but they won the SIC, so we want to give them credit. We'll be right back after this first break.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Touch the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So let's go ahead and get into it and bring up our poll rankings, if you would, getting into the mid-major division. As we do that, no one dropped out this week in terms of the poll rankings. Receiving votes, however, you can see that we have Stillman Tigers as well as Edward Water Tigers in terms of the updates. Must have sent the updated file. So let me give some updated actually records here. You have 27 and 21, 19 and 2 for Stillman Tigers. Edward Water actually finishes at 26 and 20, 15 and 9. Let's look at the top 5 in terms of the rankings here. At number 5, you have Savannah State Tigers sit at 27, 18, 15 and 9. 35 points as they were at number 3. You have Claflin Tigers sitting at 25-12, 11-1 as they move up a spot, previous being 5. And number 3, you have Albany State Golden Rams sitting at 34-11, 19-5, 41 as they are in the second place. You have number 2, Dillard Blue Devils sit at 27-14, 19-2. 3 first place votes, 61 points. Previous ranked 4, they move up 2 spots. You have Tuskegee Golden Tigers 34-9, 21-1 in terms of conference play. 4 first place votes, 66 points. And they are still remaining number 1 and number 8. Notice that Dillard did climb.
Yeah, I was about to say.
To number 2. It'd be interesting to see in terms of the playoff. Tuskegee will not likely get a bid, obviously, with Spring Hill winning the tournament. They'll go into softball. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Bowie State did win the CIAA, so it'll be intriguing to see what they do in the tournament, see if they get enough to even receive some votes or maybe find a way to sneak in. But, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 rankings, if you would, in week number 8?
So, quick question: Dillard siphoning off first place vote, is that because of Spring Hill winning the tournament?
Yeah, I think it was the fact that Tuskegee, while they won their division, Spring Hill win the tournament. Tuskegee did play pretty well in the tournament, but they didn't get it done. You have Dillard that won both their division and the tournament, doing it in really stellar fashion when they played a Stillman team that is not ranked top 5, but they are receiving votes in terms of one of the top teams outside of the top 5. I think that helps. They beat them 3 out of 4 times, including a championship series, which was 2 and 3 games. So I believe that's where a lot of folks probably put their votes, including myself, when I voted in the poll ranking.
And Dillard will a postseason invite.
Yes, they certainly get a postseason invite.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll get 2 teams, so I believe Stillman will get the invite as well because they made it to the championship game. You see that in baseball at the NIA. Once you get to that 80, what is it, 10 teams or 12?
I believe it's 10.
Once you get to the 10-team marker, you go from just one automatic bid to the second one. So you see.
So it'll be interesting over the next week or so to see if Dillard can topple Tuskegee from that number 1 spot. But one first place vote right off the number 1 ranking. So that's very interesting to sit back and watch.
What are your expectations from Dillard going into the tournament? Stillman, you see them having a chance to win a game or 2? We've seen this a little bit on the basketball side. Obviously, with Langston being able to get to a championship, but they were kind of a precursor. We saw Tougaloo a couple of years make it to Sweet 16, make a deep run. But we had a couple of teams win a game or 2. Obviously, on the men's side, we see Talladega. They won their first couple of games and made a heck of a run in the tournament. But on the women's side, what are you seeing from softball? You think that's realistic for them to get a game, or?
It's absolutely realistic. I mean, I think they've been playing consistent ball throughout the course of the season, as referenced by that 19-2 conference record. But I absolutely, you can get in a tournament or I should say postseason play and steal a game or 2 there. So it's absolutely possible.
Good stuff. Let's get in here and take our next break. We'll see you get back. I see AD is having to deal with some things there. So we'll see if we can get him back in the major division. We'll see if we can maybe get his final thoughts on the mid-major division. If not, we'll go straight into the major division. With that being said, let's take our next break, come back on the other side, talk about the major division poll rankings, and then we can get in a little bit about this tournament talk, Charles, some upsets maybe. We have the division alignments. As I said, West got off the table hot, and he said we got something to say in terms of Alabama State. And then we have our final matchup of the day, which is the other number 1 seed out of the East FAMU. But before we do that, let me give AD a chance quickly to talk about his thoughts on the top 5. If you would.
Can you put it back up for me?
Quick, yeah, we'll bring it back up. The biggest thing was Dillard, and Charles gave his thoughts on that, jumping up 2 spots from 4 to 2 after winning the regular season division and then claiming a conference tournament championship.
I gotta have Padilla number 1. I'm sorry. Tuskegee laid the egg in the SIAC softball tournament. Albany State laid an egg in the SIAC softball tournament. Those were your 2 number 1s.
Yeah, they were out pretty early.
We expected to see them meeting in the championship game, not in the elimination bracket on day 2. So
that's true. Nothing you said is true.
So Savannah State, our number 5 team, advanced further than both Tuskegee and Albany State in the SIAC tournament. This poll, Dr. Cavil, and I've never said this about your polls ever. This poll is garbage. Claflin has to be the number 1. I mean, it's not sorry. Dillard has to be the number 1 team, and you got to make Claflin number 2. Then you could go Tuskegee, Albany State, Savannah State, and probably slide Savannah State up a slot ahead of Albany State, because I believe they beat Albany State in the SIAC tournament. Dr. Cavil, totally no. Dillard's number 1. I'm glad this is not the final. That's all I'm gonna say.
I got you. I like that. So you jumped Dillard all the way from the 4th spot to the number 1 spot.
Did they win their tournament?
Because they won.
They had
also because of the dud done by Tuskegee and Albany State for that matter.
19-2 regular season.
I think that's
19-2 regular season. 27 wins overall.
Charles
they performed when they needed to perform. Regular season and postseason championship. Yes, that's my number 1. You win your regular season title. You win your conference tournament. You're my number 1.
Well, we got to make sure you get your vote in next week. It might make a difference. With that being said, we'll take the next break and come back on the other side and see what kind of thoughts go on the major division. Now, this was out before today's games. Let me say that. Regardless, though, we'll be right back after this next break. Good call.
I'm Cameron Peters, quarterback of the Prairie View A&M 2025-2026 SWAC Football Championship team.
Here on 2nd and goal, Peters looking for some space, and he runs into the end zone. The first score of the game goes to the Panthers.
As the offensive MVP and champion, when I'm not busy studying or practicing or spending time with my family and friends, I catch up on my sports highlights by watching Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab.
Horn, pump fake, steps into the 2-point jump shot. That is fundamental.
Yeah, you got to stay on your feet on him.
He's looking for some space, and he runs into the end zone. The first score of the game.
Teams that were not picked to win their respective conferences.
Prairie View produces productive people. Prairie View, where champions are built. Not like me. PV, you know.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Test the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I love SWACTV. It's hot. It's going on. 2 outs, first inning. FAMU had the bases loaded. Could Pine Bluff get out the inning? No. You get a hit that sneaks between the third baseman and shortstop. Scores just 1 run, so it is 1-0 in the top of the first. FAMU still has the bases loaded with 2 outs. The other thing, Edwin, Drew said loves the Blue Devils but hates the Delta Devils. I thought that was funny. He had to get that.
For obvious reasons.
And exactly. Actually, I thought AD is pretty nice to the Delta Devils. He gives them a lot of credit. Charles is Mike that hates on the Delta Devils.
You know, Doc, I neglected to mention it in the Ole Miss segment, but shout out to Trey Johnson as he was formally introduced as Jackson State's new basketball coach on yesterday.
Yeah, again, it was done on SWACTV. Boy, I'm not sure that any institution, particularly HBCUs, that's one I follow the most, obviously, but any institution in general, does a better welcoming ceremony than Jackson State University. And boy, the commentators in terms of that, the view where they literally watch him park the shuttle, get out the cars, and then the comments about how many kids go get out the car. That was hilarious. But more importantly, the welcome ceremonies, the love that he got, and his comments were certainly winning what you expect. Got a chance to watch it because it's on SWACTV, easy to find. So I go back and watch it, didn't see it live. But it's really appropriate there. So good stuff, good stuff. FAMU is jumping out early 2-0 walk in terms of that, getting away from the Pine Bluff early in the first inning. But with that being said, let's get to the major division poll rankings and see what takes place. Again, the poll rankings here were delivered before the SWAC tournament began. Obviously, we'll see the MEAC tournament beginning pretty shortly. This is the mid-major poll. Let's bring up the major division poll. In terms of dropping out this week is Jackson State. It'll be a tough one. They couldn't bounce back today after a tough loss. And then they will face Prairie View tomorrow, which will be even easier. Somebody is going home 0-2 in barbecue against 2 teams that had really good season. Previous coaches that have won the tournament, obviously Jackson State going back-to-back. So that will not be easy. But receiving votes is Jackson State Tigers. They right outside the top 5, so they don't go anywhere really. 24-21, 16-8, 64 points. You have Norfolk State Spartans at 22-19, and 12-9 at 57 points. Delaware State Hornets at 26, 16, 15-6. South Carolina State Bulldogs 20-19, 12-9. It'll be interesting to see if any of these teams can get hot in the MEAC tournament and push through and find themselves in the top 5. As you see, it's loaded with MEAC teams. As you just saw, let's go ahead and slide to number 5. Texas Southern Tigers, who said with a big win, they hadn't gotten off a tournament hot, but this year they get it done. 2 big runs early, and they're able to hold it on. They win their openers against Jackson State, no less, 28-10, 17-6, 71 points, but they stay at the 5 spot. And number 4, you have Prairie and Panthers sit at 27-17, 19-4. One first place vote, 75 points. Staying at the 4 spot, I will say that Brian made sure that I knew and others on our messenger board that Prairie View lost its first game in the tournament again. With that being said, at number 3, Howard Bison, 25-17, 18-3, 2 first place votes. They stay at the 3 spot. 78 points. Coming out of the MEAC. At number 2, Southern Jaguars, 32-13, 18-6. 3 first place votes, 83 points. Previous number 2, they stayed there. Certainly finished the season as one of the hottest teams out there. Got a sweep over another top 5 program, Prairie View, in terms of last week. And then went in the tournament and run rule their opponent in terms of getting it done against Bethune-Cookman. Fascinating to see that done. And then you have Florida A&M Rattlers at number 1, 28-19, 19-5, 84 points, first place. Pavlov gets out the inning, but FAMU is getting off to a good start in terms of the tournament, at least offensively. They put up 2 runs as they go into the dugout. With that being said, let me go to you first, AD Drew. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 major division for softball? Any better than what we did with the mid-major bowl ranking?
Obviously, Dr. Cavil, we have to wait for the results of the tournament, both tournaments, to see what type of movement we make. So I'm going to try to throw the bias of the PV loss today out of my comments. So coming into the tournaments this week, Dr. Cavil, I have no problem with where you have everybody at right now. Southern is the hottest team when it comes to that what color yellow is that? I forgot what color yellow we call it, but
that's just more the enemy. He knows all the.
But anyway,
blue and gold.
No, I'm talking about the softball, not Southern, not Southern themselves. But they are the hottest team when it comes to the teams who put their pitcher in the circle. Florida A&M, once again, probably has a chip on their shoulder because they are probably thinking they should have gotten more postseason awards, including potentially coach of the year.
The second year. They think we got a 2 years.
And maybe it's almost like, is this the Jordan syndrome? Not saying FAMU is the Jordan of teams and the GOAT of teams, but FAMU softball has been so good for so long recently that sometimes voters feel like they got to give it to somebody else. But
that does bring up an interesting question, though. But go ahead.
Yeah. Texas Southern also another hot team. Howard was hot until they were not, which was the last week or so. So was that Howard just Cadillacing it into the tournament, or was that a foresight of things that are going to come when it comes to the Bison? We'll find out in another day or two. So I'll leave it to you, Charles.
Well, I'm always curious if a team, whether we're talking about any tournament, basketball, softball, baseball, but when they feel disrespected, when they feel like they haven't gotten the postseason honors or whatever the case might be, does that team start to press when they get in tournament play?
I'll say this, and I just witnessed this recently during basketball season with the Morehouse men's basketball team. When those conference awards came out, the day before the tournament, I believe, is when they came out. There was some pissed off people in that Morehouse locker room because we felt we had 4 legitimate players who should have received conference awards. Only 2 received conference awards. We felt our coach, as a first-year coach, should have received coach of the year when you consider all the factors with the first-year coach, not knowing your team, and given the timing of when Morehouse made the announcement of Coach Dixon as first year as the new head coach, and having to go out and essentially get a brand new squad because and like I said, I'm just gonna stick to this. That Morehouse basketball team, when you look at that team, there was only one player who played 20 or more minutes from the previous season who was on the team this year. Everybody else, there were a couple players who were on the team, but either they were hurt or they were buried so deep on the bench you didn't even know who their names was until this year. So that's why he felt that he should have gotten Coach of the Year, and I agreed with him when you factored it out. But
we would also be curious to see like the voting rankings, like how close it is. Because I think sometimes we see it and we see a name and you think like everybody's there, but sometimes it may be a 1 point difference in terms of vote tabulation, which I think would have people have a different maybe framework that, a couple of people may have seen it slightly. But to your overall point, I think that AD is getting out that certain players do take it personal.
Yeah.
And
when the whole team
good
takes
coaches are able to use it as a rallying cry to get their players to play at the maximum level. So I think it's interesting, but I think it's kind of like team to team.
Yeah.
Some teams it bothers, some teams it don't, and you lose that.
Yeah. I'll say this closing, Charles, before I give it over to you. Coach Dixon took it personal when he found out he only got 1 vote. He took that personal more than losing. Not winning Coach of the Year. He took personal.
We don't get that, but the inside obviously get that, and I can see why that would really allow some folks up.
And the 1 vote,
I'm
that's for the person who won Coach of the Year.
Oh wow!
Because you can't vote for yourself.
Right. I like that. That's a good insight, Charles. Any final statement you got?
Well, no, I'm curious. Just looking at this tournament, like that first game, the matchup between Texas Southern and Jackson State, best hitting team versus the best pitching team. I've grown up on good pitching beats better hitting, and just always curious, how does that play out once you get in a tournament format in terms of does the axiom hold true? So Texas Southern, you give kudos to getting win this morning.
I used to think that, Charles, but I'm now, the more that I watch these tournaments, whether it's basketball or particular basketball or softball or baseball, I'm really intrigued with players that come up big versus, a collective of teams that play offensively or more defensively. To me, it's about when you see a player that is able to elevate and has a calm and a command of the game. For example, what we saw this year in the basketball tournament for the men's side, you saw really for Southern 2 years in a row on the women's side, but you saw it this year for Prairie View. We saw a couple of key players that you were like,
the moment wasn't too big. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they were playing, and anytime the question that came back, and we saw it last year with Alabama State, where you saw guys that when it was time to get a bucket, they got a bucket. When it was time to get a key rebound, it was a couple of key players, and it allowed other players to do what they needed to do. And I think when you get in that tournament format where it's just one game that can send you on, even in the double elimination, it's just 1 or 2 plays. To me, it's more about those players that can rise to occasion, and we'll see that tomorrow. Can Prairie View finally get the big hit? They've been able to get some hits. In this game here, they had a couple of players on third base with 1 out. They couldn't get the big hit, and to me, that's about offensive pitcher because you're hitting the ball, but it's so much about timing. Are you able to elevate timing and get key plays? We saw it with Jackson State softball last year.
Yeah.
Those games that they had where they just had timely hits and it wasn't
just made the play when it had to be made.
They made the play when it's time to make. They were down. They scored 1 and send it overtime, get a big hit. That to me is more than just the collective thought process of saying offensive, defensive.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I tell you what intrigues me? And I agree with you, Dr. Cavil. But that one player that you've never heard of, and when it comes tournament time, has the performance of their life.
I agree. Yeah.
Be it
we need that oftentimes in 1 or 2 games that are close where you need a player to get off with that. And we saw that with Morehouse, with the freshmen just having timely hits and timely pitching. even though they couldn't quite get it in there. But I thought Edward Waters was on the other side. You just seen a team that had clutch plays,
Jordan Smith,
and getting 4 players. Jordan Smith was really came up big. Whenever they needed a clutch hit, particularly last 2 games against Spring Hill, he got those hits for the RBIs that were different in the matchup.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
great point there too. But yeah, to me, it's just everyone says it, clutch execution. Do you have the clutch gene, as some people would put it? Whether it's pitching, whether it's shooting a basket, getting a rebound, key rebound, getting a key steal,
knocking down a putt,
right? It just are you able to kind of block out all this stuff and feel really good and calm and you get it done?
They call that the
last break.
Everybody.
Exactly. Let's get our last break, come in, and we'll talk a little bit about it. I got a tease I want to put out there. I know we've done a lot of baseball. We'll give an update going in. FAMU still leads 2-0. It's at the bottom of the 2nd inning, 1 out. SWACTV is killing the game right now. We'll be back after this last break. Talk a little bit more softball, any final thoughts, but we'll get into some baseball. And I have an oddity that I want to point out to you all and see what your thoughts. Got 2 weeks. So I don't know if it'll play out like this, so I want to tease it out now. We'll be right back after this last break.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
And we have to fund our kids in these colleges, and we have to make sure our kids have seats in these colleges.
Now, what about HBCUs? You mentioned.
Absolutely. You got to fund them all, and you got to make sure they're properly funded. You know, the real reason why I went after Comcast and Charter, it didn't have anything to do with my cable networks. It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCUs. And Comcast did not accept it. And that would have made a lot of money for these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. And when they didn't do that, that's when I came off the bench and said, okay, I'm going to light you up like a Christmas tree. Okay. That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network, which I don't own. I just knew.
Why didn't you buy it?
I just knew. I just knew that these black.
I like that talk.
All right. I knew that these black colleges were going to benefit, and these black kids were going to get the education that they deserved and not have to pay.
There's a shot.
That might be.
It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Greetings, Santos. My name is Roland Austin, and I'm one of the directors at the 1876 Athletic Foundation. The 1876 Athletic Foundation was formed to promote the success of all 343 student athletes. Our overall goal is to fund scholarships for all of our student athletes. We ask that you help us in achieving this goal by donating to the 1876 Athletic Foundation via the QR code below or 1876.foundation. Your generous donation will help us continue to assist the needs of all of our Panther athletes. Thanks, and go Panthers.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside HBCU Sports Lab. Before we get into a little bit of baseball, let me give an update, at least with the bracket for the MEAC, so you can see what it looks like. You see here you have Norfolk State coming in, and you got some of those games getting off the spot. You got Howard and Delaware State with the byes. Then you have your matchups with South Carolina State and Morgan State, as well as Norfolk State and Cotton State getting in the mix. So you see a double elimination that starts Wednesday, starting today. So we might better get you some, starting tomorrow, I should say, as we'll give you those updates on Thursday as we get prepared to get into the championship level games that closes on Saturday. If there's no rain, obviously, to throw things off as we learn about the SIEC tournament. It can change. With that being said, exactly. With that being said, let's get in here and talk a little bit about the baseball, boy, how things have changed all of a sudden after this weekend. You talking about Southern softball team being the hottest team out there. You might have to argue that Southern baseball is the hottest team out there too, while Bethune-Cookman is doing what it does in regards to holding down for first place. But Southern is all of a sudden, in terms of the positioning standings, guess what, Charles? Southern Jaguars all of a sudden in second place.
Yeah, they're playing tremendous baseball, and you take a look at it over the past 3 weeks or so now. I mean, they are just they're running it up in terms of taking series. So it's tremendous to sit back and watch. You know, Southern baseball turning the corner, becoming Southern baseball again.
Another team that was left for dead in a lot of ways that I think is saying not so fast also is Alabama State.
Yep.
They
saw
were
that up close.
All of a sudden they playing some good baseball, and we saw it up close as they swept Texas Southern, a team that is solid. Certainly not playing bad. You see, even with the loss, they just dropped one game behind Alabama State, FAMU, and Grambling State. Grambling State has kind of woken up. Team that's not as hot, that was previously second place, is falling a bit on hard times, is FAMU in terms of what they're doing baseball, as they were swept by Grambling State. I tell everybody that wants to hear about old SWAC in terms of baseball, you know, while the whole does some stuff for folks in football, particularly Jackson State, Charles has told me about that. Baseball-wise, that's for everybody. No matter where Grambling is, if you go to the baseball field, boy, you talking about the G standing up. They seem to play a different level of good there, particularly hitting the ball. They just hit the racket out of the ball. I don't know what it is. Always hit well, but they hit even better at home. Well, they playing some pretty good baseball as well. So you see where it is. Essentially, Jackson State, with the victory yesterday, has put themselves, Charles said this, the schedule was going to put them in a position where they should be okay. And he's absolutely correct as he does his baseball analysis. I wasn't listening to him. But with the sweep of Alcorn, Prairie View, Alabama A&M, and Alcorn State are out regardless. Even if Prairie View swept everything and somehow Jackson State lost everything, Jackson State would have the head-to-head as they took 2 out of 3 at home from Prairie View. Valley has a shot, and they play this week. Valley would need to sweep and then have some fortune going into last weekend. So Valley is still alive, but if Jackson State gets one from Valley this weekend, you know the top 8 teams we can defend on the order, which brings up to this case, Charles. If everything finished now, guess what the brackets would look like?
Oh, boy.
You would have the number 1 seed facing the number 8 seed Jackson. That's Bethune-Cookman and Jackson State. FAMU, the 4 seed, would play the 5 seed Alabama State.
Ooh.
The other bracket would be the 2 seed Southern playing the 7 seed UAPB. The 3 seed Grambling State would play the 6 seed TSU. What do you see when you hear that in terms of the brackets? It would be an all East bracket.
Yeah.
An all West bracket.
Yeah.
What kind of luck would have that?
How did that happen?
Tournament and get the old West and the Eastern Division format for a tournament pool play, where you would certainly have a matchup where the old East would play the old West in a championship game. We need a series for that. It might be a new format. Do we just keep everybody West? No, they loving it. The coaches like this full schedule. But let me go to you, Charles. Your thoughts on that first, and I'll go to you, AD Drew. Then we'll talk.
Yeah, I mean, that would be phenomenal to see. It's funny how that kind of worked out. But just going back to Alabama State, I mean, getting an opportunity. You talk about them being a hot team. This weekend, I saw a couple of balls hit out of Nagel Field. The Artemis astronauts are probably impressed by the orbit.
I was watching you say that. I'm like, Charles, was it that?
Oh man, Trey Callaway hit one. It's probably still going. I mean, when you hit a home run and nobody moves in the outfield, you know it's gone. That's exactly.
Hey, you know it's bad when they don't even turn around. They didn't even turn around. They want to look to see where it lands.
I mean,
they don't turn around. They like, man, I don't even want.
They were launched, but I mean, they had a tremendous series in terms of knocking down Texas Southern and taking 3 of them. You talked about falling a little bit, FAMU, but Texas Southern as well lost 2 or 3 to UAPB and got swept this weekend. So Texas Southern is hitting that kind of tough part of the schedule because they get on the road this weekend, FAMU, and then finish up with Bethune-Cookman.
Good stuff. Before I go to you, AD, and Ash, your thoughts on that, I want to give a slight update for those that are not sneaking on it. You have 2 outs. You have runners on 2nd and 3rd, as Pine Bluff is threatening as they are just down 2-1. It is 2 outs in the top of the 3rd, running on 2nd and 3rd. So getting a little interesting there for the SWAC tournament. With that being said, switching to baseball, what would be your thoughts if things held out this way, where you would get an all-East pod bracket and then an all-West bracket for old-time Eastern and Western Division sake?
For old time's sake. Before I touch on that, Dr. Cavil, sure. Charles mentioned home runs, and it made me think about something. And something to keep an eye on for the tournament in baseball as you go to Rickwood Field. One thing that we were talking about in the SIAC tournament was the size of the field, because that field was slightly larger than any field pretty much in our conference that we normally play on. So yeah, we did see a couple of WTPs out there. That's one in track power on some fly balls that would have been out in a lot of the ballparks. But Charles, Doc, let me tell you this: when them cats actually hit a home run, there were no doubters. These weren't balls that just barely creeped over the fence. We saw some multiple 420-foot.
Robert Robertson, he hit one.
Yeah. Oh, he killed one.
Yeah, exactly.
That ball was about 430 by the time that one landed. He probably, and there was somebody else who hit one about as far as he did. Those were probably the 2 furthest home runs that was hit in the tournament. But nothing skinned the wall. Everything cleared the wall by a mile. Anyway, but getting back to SWAC baseball. Doc, you buried the lead when you talked about Southern. Southern has swept their last 4 conference series.
Yeah.
For those who can't do the math, that's 12 consecutive conference victories.
Yeah.
Even you got you usually get a my bad game somewhere up in there. 12 in a row in this conference. I don't care how bad the other team is. Somebody gets lucky and gets one every now and then. And by the way, that's I believe it's 14 out of 15 or 13 out of 14 overall for Southern.
Yeah, and I misspoke earlier. Texas Southern actually goes to Southern this weekend. So
yeah, so we're gonna see if they can.
I'm gonna bring those matchups. That's what we're gonna close on those matchups. What you just said there, Drew, I want to point this out. Yeah, the last series against Valley. Okay, Valley was playing well. They were kind of on losing streaks. You can take that. But you had Pine Bluff that was playing really well, and they got it done in all kinds of fashions. You got 11-7 game, 10-8, 16-15, where they came from behind and scored a home run to take the lead in the 8th inning before they closed it out in that matchup. And they had Alcorn State, but then they went to at a time. Grambling playing well. Now they're playing well again, but they swept Grambling in Grambling. And I just told you what Grambling does to teams. So 2 of those 4 sweeps were against solid competition for sure. Go ahead, AD, you finish up.
But from a marketing standpoint, Dr. Cavil, if I'm those people in the SWAC office, I'm marketing the heck out of East v East, West v West, and let's see who's the best. Oh, I like that. I might have to use that one. But
we'll send this over to them.
Because I think that would actually drum up some on-site participation because
I agree.
I'm familiar with that Eastern rival if I'm an East team. I'm familiar with that Western rival. Texas Southern in Birmingham. I mean, I don't care where it's at. Texas Southern and Southern or Grambling and Southern. No matter where they play, it's going to draw people. FAMU, Bethune, wherever they play, it's going to draw people. FAMU, Jackson State, it's going to draw. So the fact that you automatically have those matchups built in because it could be an EVE and a WVW bracket, oh my God, I would have so much fun with that, y'all. I might change my plans to get there earlier than I was planning on just to see that one.
Yeah, I agree with you. That first day would be crazy. With that being said, let's look at some of these matchups. Fascinating across the board. So it'll be interesting to see what y'all say in terms of what excites you. Game or 2. You might sneak in 3 this weekend based on what we just broke down. Yeah, Prairie View at Alcorn. Okay. So what? Somebody gets to feel good about how they close out the season potentially. You got Grambling State at Pine Bluff, though. You got the rivalry, Jackson State with Valley, and I just sold you on why that game means so much, regardless of what you think about Valley. And they're not playing as well now. Jackson State playing better. But they do go to Itta Bena, and strange things happen in Itta Bena. Prairie View at Alcorn. Oh, I said that one. You start on Thursday with a FAMU Alabama A&M matchup. FAMU got to find a way to make Alabama get them right. But then you got the Bethune-Cookman at Alabama State in Montgomery. It was a classic last year. 1 road games, 2 out of 3 that Bethune got. And now a red-hot Alabama State team, Bethune-Cookman, is doing what it does. I can tell you on that matchup. And then you got the old West rivalry that we just talked about with Texas Southern and Southern that over the last 20 years has been some really good matchups in terms of on the baseball dime. AD Drew, I'll start with you and let Charles study a little bit in terms of which one tickles his fancy. Drew, where are you going? What matchup stands out to you? And again, you can give 2 of them if you need to.
This is tough there, Dr. Cavil. Gotta go Bethune, Alabama State. Gotta go Bethune, Alabama State. As far as my matchups, obviously Bethune is rolling, and you want to see the top teams play each other. And the question has been all season: can someone get not only a game against Bethune, depending on who the opponent is, can somebody get a series against Bethune? We haven't seen anybody get a series thus far, and we barely have seen people get a game against them, depending on these series. So, and I believe, given Bethune's schedule, if I remember their schedule correctly, this might be the last top half opponent that they have, if I remember their schedule correct. So that's the game that I really want to focus on, Dr. Cavil. Bethune, Alabama State.
Good. Charles?
I think Bethune, Alabama State, I think is the marquee matchup for the weekend, especially when you take a look at both pitching staffs. Johan LeBoy threw a gem this past weekend for Alabama State. So I was very impressed watching Alabama State, especially impressed with their lineup. Interestingly enough, with Texas Southern, can kind of Texas Southern kind of turn things around a bit. I think what was very interesting, kind of taking a look at the lineup a little bit with Texas Southern this past weekend. They moved Zachary Pace from the top of the lineup down to the bottom of the lineup to kind of give the bottom of the lineup a little bit more of a jolt. And that's one of the things that you've seen with Texas Southern 1 through 6. They're very stout, but things will kind of tail off once you got toward the bottom of the lineup. So I'm curious to see if that kind of helps things out with regards to Texas Southern's lineup. Now you have Anthony Ruiz leading off for Texas Southern. I don't know if that was, strategic this past weekend or if that was, something by necessity. But, I think just going into the last few weekends here, what stands out is, can you get to the starter? Can you get into the bullpen and get things going and turn small innings into big innings? Very impressed by Alabama State this past weekend. They actually had 3 really great starts from their pitchers this past weekend.
Yeah, good stuff. With that, to give you last update on SWACTV, and then we'll call it a show. You have Pine Bluff. They had runners on second and third, one out. They couldn't get anybody in, so it was 2-1 there. But now you've had FAMU been able to add to it in the bottom of the third, so they're up 3-1. It is 2 outs, runner on first and second. They did have a player, it looked like, in the rundown in terms of Pine Bluff, but the runner was able to sneak back in the second before the tag was put on the runner. So we are 3-1, 2 outs with FAMU leading 3-1, as I should say, with runners on first and second as it goes down there. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, A.D. Drew, always finding time when he's not working 3 or 4 jobs. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be back at it. We'll give you updates. By Thursday, somebody is doing 2 and barbecue, and we'll see who is doing it in the elimination bracket and who is undefeated. Yeah, exactly. Oh, boy. The Golden Rams. We look forward to Thursday as we give you and discuss the latest news in the lab. With that, Pine Bluff did get out the inning, but FAMU is up 3-1 as we have completed 3. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. That's Dr. KENYATTACAVIL. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. I want to say thank you to all the lab listeners, making sure we give us all the love. We appreciate your interaction and all that you do in terms of supporting HBCUs. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
AD.
Lecture.
Dismiss. I got to go.